Hi Homeworthy, I'm Stella Weatherall. Welcome to my Notting Hill home in London. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Stella Weatherall. I am an interior designer living in London, and here we are at my house in Notting Hill. So I've been living in this house for 7 years, and when I started looking to buy a house, this was a pocket of London that had always appealed to me for a really long time. I'd always walked these streets. The area that we're in is called the Hillgate Village, and it really has that lovely village vibe. And lots of cafes and restaurants, and all the houses are painted in different colours, which is a very sort of unique London characteristic. And when I was looking, this house came up for sale, and I knew pretty much before viewing it that it was the one for me. It also hadn't been touched for many years, and that was also something I was looking for, was to do a renovation rather than finding something that had already been worked on. So the main bit of work was to change the staircase, which was in bad shape and was also cut between a few different levels, going up 2 stairs, down 2 stairs, with a bulkhead in the kitchen, which meant that you've had a change in ceiling level. So by straightening it all out, it kind of gave much more of a feeling of space, and made for a much easier, smoother sort of journey through the house. So here we are in the entrance of my home. Here we have a hallway table in front of the stairs, where there is a cutout, which I love because you can really see through to the full depth of the house, but there's also a place to put a console for keys and letters and things that are sort of useful to have to hand. And then as you walk through, this is the main living room, which is the main room in the house. I really wanted the colours and textures to pack a punch. Like many London houses, it's quite a tight space, but it works, you know, and I've really kind of filled it to its to maximum capacity. But the main focal point is the sofa in a yellow fabric from Pierre. In the centre here is a really beautiful lacquer coffee table from the Lacquer Company. I used to have a glass coffee table here, but since my son was born, I changed it up just so that there were slightly less sharp corners, and it was a little bit more sturdy. Here is a really fun rattan chair from Soho Home, which actually was meant for outdoor, but I just thought it was really fun and quite a good shape, seeing as this is where you walk through from the front door. So there's a nice curve, and it means you can get past with all your shopping and things like that. And here is a lovely chair, which I bought in an antique shop in Fulham, and recovered in this wonderful flame stitch fabric from Tessier. And a really fun striped cushion from one of my favourite shops in the Golborne Road, Nook Designs. And I actually added the club fender later on, but it's been such a good addition, as you can have 2 extra bums on seats when hosting. So that's been a great way to kind of maximise the space. And I chose to upholster it in this Nina Campbell embroidered fabric, which is inspired by traditional Suzani. And what I love about it is the kind of oversized pattern on a small area, which I think is quite unexpected and quite fun. The cushions on this side of the room, these are from a brand called Kalinko, which makes all beautiful homewares in Myanmar. Here is a marriage cushion, which I absolutely love the embroidery of, with really fun tassels. And this was a cushion that I picked up in a sale, which is kind of full of holes, but I kind of love the colours and the pattern, and I just think it really adds a bit of fun, and it doesn't really need to be perfect, so I don't mind about the holes too much. The curtains are from amazing fabric from Susan DeLis. I've always loved this fabric, and I just thought that the dark blue with the yellow was such a wonderful contrast. It's always a colour combination that I come back to time and time again, and I just think it really works. The lampshade here is actually a lampshade that I customised myself. So the card shade I sourced, and I made the holes around the top and bottom and wrapped twine, which I think just adds a really nice texture. And then you can see all across the shade I made pinprick holes in a pattern. I love the way the light shines through at night. It really glows, and I just absolutely love that. This is an artwork, a monochrome artwork by an artist called Jack Penny, who I absolutely love the work of. I have a few of his pieces, some downstairs, which we'll see later, but I just really love the figurative works he does. And I've kind of mixed a lot of different styles and colours and sort of mediums of artwork together, which I think always is a really nice thing to have a mix of. The two works here, which the top and then the third one are by an artist called Edoardo Paolozzi, and the beaded artwork here I found in a flea market, and I just think it's really, really fun. There's an artwork here which was made during lockdown by my aunt, Stella Weatherall. It is called Lockdown, hence the keys, and I just think it's so beautifully framed, and is such a lovely three-dimensional piece to have. The four faces along the top I picked up on a roadside when I was travelling in Myanmar, and had framed with the Hessian back and painted frame. I just think it's such fun and very playful, and really kind of, a bit different. So this fireplace, I put this fireplace in. The original was not in good shape and was slightly too small for the space, so decided to change that, and I sourced this mirror when I was travelling in Myanmar. I did a lot of shopping when I was there, and this was one of the pieces that I picked up. I just love the, again, the sort of three-dimensional quality to it. Love the colours and the age and this lovely sort of gilt trim. I think it's really striking and really is a lovely focal point when you enter the room. Either side of the fireplace in the recesses, I decided to fit floor-to-ceiling mirrored panels, and I decided to do this because of the room being on the smaller side. When you enter, having that reflection really explodes the room and gives a much more of a sense of space, even though it's more of an illusion than anything. But I just think it's a really nice being able to see, more depth than actually is there. This is a console I bought through Vinteria, which is an amazing platform for sourcing antiques. Here on this wicker vase, I have a flower garland, which is actually the flower garland that I wore on my wedding day. And rather than putting it in a drawer, I love to have it there so that I can see it every day. It is a vintage piece made of enamel flowers, and I absolutely love it. This little guy was sourced in Japan on my honeymoon, as was this doll. I really love everything that comes from Japan, and we had such a wonderful trip and loved sourcing. In the back behind the flowers, there's a fan, which I bought an Oxfam on Notting Hill Gate. And in the vase are some brass flowers, which I picked up in Saigon. And I just think they're really fun. I definitely got a few strange looks when I was carrying them through the airport. But I think they're just really, really fun in amongst. These are some faux peonies, which are probably not the most convincing, but I think they're really fun and great to have to see every day. So this space we use mostly for entertaining because it sits the most amount of people in the house, but it's also used every day for if I have people over, if I have someone over for coffee, we'll always sit here. And at the end of the day, my husband and I will sit here and debrief the day. So and it being so close to the front door, it's really the room that gets used the most. This chair was given to me by my grandparents and is in its original upholstery. It's not necessarily something that I would have chosen myself, but I absolutely love that it was a gift from them, and I love seeing it here every day. And it sits really nicely in this corner and just adds another seat for when we're entertaining and have more people around. This is a wonderful piece by an artist from Barcelona. It is one of the first pieces I bought before buying a house. I saw it and I just absolutely love the composition. Each panel is on a piece of metal and has been painted, and then the different patina is where the metal has reacted, and it's just such a lovely piece with so much depth, and it just brings me joy. I really love the colours, and it's a great piece for this wall because it's always the first thing I see when I come in. To the right of the opening, this is a sconce that I bought from my friend Charlie Porter, who has Tat London. I absolutely love the scale of it and how the snake sort of is asymmetric on the wall. It's really fun lighting the candle when we have friends over, and it's such a fun kind of unexpected focal point to this room. In the opening, I picked up in a flea market this old wheel that had been put on a display stand, and I just really love the age and the sort of circular shape in this lovely opening. This is a little table that I picked up in Kempton, which is a racecourse outside of London, where once a month they have a fantastic antiques market. And this was, again, actually one of the first pieces that I bought for this house. I love the wavy edge and the metal that wraps around the bamboo stand. I just think it's such a lovely side table, and this great, this red top. Lovely to put a drink on when you're sitting in this chair. Leading from the sitting room, there is our TV area. And this is the part of the house which I really, really love. And is actually, having said that we spend most of our time in the sitting room, I think I was lying. I think this is probably where we spend most of our time watching TV and relaxing after a long day. The sofa is unusually deep, and I get a lot of comments on how deep it is, but I was very sure of what I wanted for this space, and that was to have the feeling of a daybed, and this depth really kind of gives that feeling. I love daybeds that I've seen travelling in Asia, and I just think it's such a lovely concept, and I think being able to almost recline whilst watching TV is such a luxury. There are a lot of cushions. I think probably arguably too many, but I love buying cushions if I see and I like. I'll always buy, and not necessarily that because they sort of are perfect for the scheme, but if I love them, then somehow they always tend to slot in quite well. This area, I decided to wrap around all 3 walls with built-in bookcases. I think it's so lovely to have a space in the house for keeping books. And I think that they, especially in this area where we really want to feel like really cozy and enveloped, I think it's such a lovely way to to achieve that feeling. The artwork behind the sofa is actually a throw that I bought in New York and had framed. So as with a lot of the works in this house, the framing often costs a lot more than the actual piece itself. But I think it's always worth it, and I just have absolutely loved having this as the focal point to this space in this particular area. I've flanked it with 2 wall lights with raffia lampshades. I think it's really nice to have lighting at this level, especially in a TV area. The lining paper of these particular shades is gilded, and that again adds to this really wonderful warm glow that we get at night in this area. So that really adds to kind of the coziness. Rather than having curtains or a fabric blind, I decided to install a chick blind, which are made in India, and I just think are such a lovely addition to any room. They are such a lovely texture. They let the light in during the day, but block it out during the evening. And I really love sort of the manual nature of kind of putting it up and down and using the rope to secure it. I just think they're so charming, and actually use them often in projects. The pendant in this area I bought in an antique shop. I love the scale of it, and just think it's such a lovely piece, particularly with these kind of rounded brass. Each space I've used a different rug. I think in the main sitting room area, where there is a lot going on, I really wanted to kind of bring in a little bit of neutral, and did that by using this wonderful jute rug from the Conran shop. In this area, I think bringing in a little bit more pattern against the green velvet sofa was, and having an antique rug was a really nice addition. It was something that I picked up in an antique shop in London. In this space, whilst there is a lot of colour and pattern, I decided to go with a neutral paint for the main walls. I just think that it's a really nice backdrop for some of the more colourful accents, and a great backdrop for the artwork. In the TV area, I brought in some colour by painting the insides of the bookcase with this rhubarb raspberry colour. It's actually the same colour that I used on the front door, so that's quite a nice continuation. And then the panel behind the sofa I painted in Hague Blue by Farrow & Ball, which I think just gives a really nice depth to the space. I always love hanging plates and baskets and things that are a bit more three-dimensional than a sort of flat artwork. These I bought again in Japan on our honeymoon, and I just think I love the simplicity of them, and I always love hanging things in threes. So the house is split over 3 floors, like many London houses, lots of going up and down stairs, and quite a narrow building. You walk in and the stairs are right in front of you. What is quite unusual about this house compared to many London houses is, although you can see the stairs when you walk in, I created a wall in front of it so that I could put a hall table, because I like somewhere to put my keys and a sort of break point as you enter. So you walk through the door, you see the hallway table and the stairs behind, but you turn into the living room, which is a really nice way to sort of enter the house. And then beyond that is the TV area. Quite often in these London houses you have a sort of L shape, which is what we have here. A lot of people use that area as a study, but I really wanted to kind of create a cosy nook for watching TV. Through on the same floor is my son's bedroom at the back of the house. Unusually, the kitchen is located on the lower ground floor, along with what was another bedroom and bathroom, but is now a bathroom and a playroom. And the top floor, there is a terrace and the master bedroom and bathroom. I would say that my personal aesthetic really focuses on colour and texture and an influence from the East. I grew up in Hong Kong. I lived there for the first 15 years of my life and have a really sort of strong connection with that part of the world, having travelled around. I love the vibrant colours, yellows and blues that you see all across that part of the world. I also love travelling to India. I love embroidery. As you can see what I'm wearing today, I sort of carry my personal style through sort of my home, my clothing, and that's my personal aesthetic would really be kind of more is more. So now we're going to continue on this floor and I'm going to take you to my son's room. So here we are in my son's nursery. This used to be my office before having a baby, and the one thing that remains from the original scheme is the blind. So that I wanted to keep, and so was the kind of starting point for everything else. This room is at the back of the house and it doesn't get a huge amount of natural light. So I knew I wanted to choose a paint colour that felt warm, and I decided to go with Farrow & Ball setting plaster, which is a colour that I have used time and time again and absolutely love, and I think works really nicely in this space. So what I did was I contrasted it by painting the skirting and all of the woodwork in powder blue by Farrow & Ball, and I just think that it's a really fun combination, and that slightly pastel palette which lends itself really nicely to a baby's room. Along the underside of the cornice, I really wanted to add a hand-painted element, and when I was 8 months pregnant, decided to make a stencil, and I painted the sort of tent motif all the way around the room, which I think is a cute addition. Also on the architrave, I painted some round circles in the same paint as the ceiling, which is pale powder, again by Farrow & Ball, just as a fun additional element. It kind of reminds me of the sort of Bloomsbury style hand painting, so I thought it was a really nice addition for this room. I really wanted to have a single bed in here, so kept it quite simple with a cream balance, but I already had this red antique quilt that I got in France that sits at the end of the bed. I think it goes really nicely with the setting plaster on the walls, the red and pink combination, and also the chest of drawers which I got from Julian Chichester, which is in a high gloss finish in a really vibrant red. It has a wavy front which I think is really playful, and I use it as my changing table and storage, which is potentially a bit extravagant for a baby's room, but it just makes me so happy and is really functional as well. So it was a great addition. The crib I found online, and it was delivered from a brand in France. I just really love the sort of rattan detail, and just makes it a little bit more interesting than just a standard painted crib. The artwork in this room, they were all pieces that I had before, but rehung for this space when I redid it. The large artwork on the left is a painting by my sister, Stella Weatherall. She does these wonderful pieces which are inspired by architectural kind of shapes, and she paints in watercolour in different colours across the piece. I just think it's such a fun composition and works really well in this room. This plate I bought through a seller on Instagram with my son's name and date of birth. I love hanging plates, and I just think it's such a lovely memento for him, and really is lovely to hang above the crib. So this is a vintage piece that I picked up in a flea market. Really love the detail, and it's so great to hang above the changing table so I have everything to hand. On the top is a really lovely old set of the full works of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter, which was given to him by my dad, and it's just such a special thing to have. This is a Beanie Baby that was given to him by my sister. He was born in the year of the dragon, and so that is a vintage dragon Beanie Baby. On this side of the room are some vintage maps of Hong Kong, which I had framed and I think work really nicely with the colour scheme, and it really is a really nice nod to my childhood. For the headboard, I've always loved this sort of Indian-inspired shape, and this was a piece of fabric that I had in a drawer. I've always loved the colours, and I thought they worked really nicely with the scheme in here, with the lovely kind of light blues, yellows, oranges. I thought it sat really well with everything, and I did a trim piping with some raw silk from the cloth shop, which I think is a really nice frame. This is a bamboo side table, which is vintage. I have always loved these kinds of tables. My grandparents had lots of tables like this in their home, so they're very nostalgic for me, and I just think they are such a lovely way of bringing in a texture and a slightly more unexpected shape and some age to a room. So this works really nicely as a side table. The chair with my son's name on was a gift, and is just such a charming, lovely addition to this room. This was a piece that I bought from Petrie Prints. I saw it online, just scrolling through Instagram, and it was whilst I was doing the work on this room, and it immediately jumped out at me, and I think just works so perfectly there. The plate above it was a wedding present, and again, it's just a really charming and works really well with the scheme in here. So this room was originally my office, and when I was trying to work out how to repurpose the room to be my son's nursery, but also having enough storage to still keep my work materials to hand, I had the idea of using some IKEA shelves in this part of the room, building an end panel to make it look a little bit more fitted, and then having this curtain built fitted in front of it. It's made in a wonderful embroidered fabric from the cloth shop, one of my absolute favourites, and I've used in so many projects. I just absolutely love the colours and the sort of delicate pattern, and sort of behind here I've concealed my work life. It's just great to have things to hand. I didn't want to put things into storage, but it is neatly kind of tucked away behind the door, and it doesn't luckily get in the way too much. How I ended up in the world of interior design is, I think in roughly my mid-20s, I decided to change direction, and interiors had always been something that I loved and enjoyed, but hadn't really ever considered as a profession. But thankfully I sort of joined the dots and decided to take a year studying at the Inchbald School of Design, which is based in Chelsea here in London. I had a brilliant year, learnt so much, and from there got a job working with British designer Flora Soames, who I worked with for 2 years and learnt a great deal. I was working with her on various projects, and also was with her when she launched her incredible fabric and wallpaper collection. I then worked for Kit Kemp at Firmdale Hotels. There are 8 hotels here in London, including the Ham Yard, and 3 in New York. And I very sadly started there just before COVID hit. So it was short-lived, but I learnt a lot. And from there, being made redundant during that time, I was pushed into kind of doing interior design independently, and I'm so glad that I did, because I might not have sort of had the confidence to take that leap quite so soon, but that is now what I've been doing for the last 4 to 5 years. I think when it comes to mixing patterns and textures, I think it always helps to start with perhaps 2 to 3 key elements, just so that you have the base for a room. For example, here, I always knew I wanted to have a yellow sofa, so that was kind of the starting point for the scheme. I then brought in the blue pattern curtains, which I've always loved the combination of blue and yellow. And then from there, I really feel like things that I were drawn to and that I liked, that I then brought in. I didn't worry too much about exact matches or things like that. Once you kind of have the ground for the room, I think bringing things in that maybe are a little bit unexpected or don't quite match in the way that you would imagine, I think brings interest and makes for a much more interesting scheme. And now I'm going to take you downstairs to the kitchen. So here we are in the kitchen. The layout of the space hasn't changed a huge amount in terms of the people living here previously always had a table in the centre. But they had this more as a formal dining room, and then through here to where the laundry room is now behind, there was an opening and there was a very small kitchen in a U-shaped in that area. So the kitchen really wasn't the focal point. So really, when I was redesigning it, I wanted to bring the kitchen very much back into this space so that it was a kitchen dining room rather than a formal dining room, and closed this off, gave an opportunity to have the full height so that I could have the larder cupboard and the fridge. And then on this run, I really wanted to keep everything at countertop level and have as much open space above as possible. I really feel like if you can avoid having wall cabinets, it really can make the space feel a lot more open and can make it also feel less utilitarian and less like a kitchen, which I really love. So in the centre, we've got an open shelf, and then to the left of the sink, I sourced a stainless steel plate rack, which I really love the kind of different materials and the kind of openness of it. And how the stainless steel sort of ties in with the cooker and the extractor fan. So there's a nice sort of balance in materials. The kitchen is made by Devol, a UK-based kitchen company. They have showrooms in London, but all the joinery is made in Leicestershire. The colour is a bespoke colour that I mixed with them and is this sort of quite soft grey-green colour. I really like the depth that it brings to the space, and it really works well with the brass ironmongery and antique brass tap. Also, another reason for not having wall cabinets is so that I can hang more artwork and hang plates, which I think, again, just makes the space feel much more like a living space and less like a utilitarian kitchen. Above the shelf, I have some maps of Hong Kong, which I sourced through Maltby Maps, and are really charming and are really kind of my 2 favourite maps of Hong Kong. I have quite a few. The Cape Mustard is by an artist called Angelica Hicks, who's based in New York. The mussels I love the monochrome in amongst the brighter colours and the kind of food subject in a kitchen. The below it is a vintage Kellogg's poster, which I think also is really fun and charming. The collage artwork is by an artist called Hugh Griffiths. I really love the sort of the textural quality of it, the collage. He frames everything himself, so you buy the artwork framed as he wants it. So I love the kind of the age that the frame has. Below it is a study by the artist Jack Penny, who I absolutely love the work of, and it's, as you can see, it's sort of taken from his sketchbook. I gave it to my husband for Christmas, and it's just a really fun little scene of people enjoying themselves at a dinner table, so it felt fitting for this space. Above the sink is an artwork, again by my aunt Stella Weatherall. It is chairs stacked in a warehouse that she visited and loved, and then she took the shapes. I love the kind of sculptural quality to it. And then again above that is another work by Jack Penny. He does some wonderful works in colour, but the 3 works by him that I have are all monochrome, and there's just something so lovely about them. I love the lobster. Again, you can see the sort of hole punch on either side. This is from one of his sketchbooks, and I just think it really has such a lot of charm to it. Above the table, I've hung 2 pendants. The ceiling height in here isn't the highest, so I went with something that was transparent so that it didn't feel like it blocked your view too much coming into the room. These are from Pookie, a really wonderful lighting company, and I think work really well above the table. The dining table is a sort of folding refectory table that I saw the design for and then had made using the oak from my parents' garden in Scotland. So that's a really nice thing to have in London, a sort of connection to where they live in Scotland, which is great. And then the dining chairs I bought at the decorative fair in Battersea, which is on 3 times a year, and is just the most fantastic place to go if you want to source antiques, because all of the best antique dealers from across the country gather and have sort of the best array of antiques. The outside sort of courtyard garden is not very big, but is such a lovely extension of the kitchen. It's so nice to be able to open the doors and have greenery. This is north facing, so it doesn't get the most enormous amount of direct natural sunlight. So I actually worked with the most wonderful garden designer, Butter Wakefield, who does mostly much bigger and grander and more incredible things than this little garden, but she was just such an amazing help, and it was her idea to have these 4 ferns, which have really thrived in this space because they love damp and not too much sunlight. So it kind of creates this jungle atmosphere, which I just absolutely love. And then the greenery behind is jasmine. So in sort of May time, it flowers and is absolutely beautiful. The butter helped source the table and chairs from an antique shop in Notting Hill called Myriad, and I just think with the black grittle doors, it just works so well to the link between the 2. And also the trellis behind has some mirrored panels, which, because it's not the most enormous garden, courtyard garden, at night especially, it gives that illusion of depth, which is so nice. On this side of the room, just to continue the kind of unfitted kitchen look, I sourced this wonderful bobbin console from Alfred Newell, and it just works so nicely having things on display. On the top, I mean, it looks slightly chaotic, but lovely to have all the candlesticks and some photo frames and vases that I love, and just sort of trinkets and fun things that I like to see every day. This is a really fun faux geranium that is made from paper, and I just really love this sort of artwork in itself. The piece behind is a world map with all the different currencies of across the world. What I also love about this map that is a bit unusual is that Asia is in the center, and Hong Kong sort of is round about here. So it's kind of nice having that as a focal point with kind of Britain over here on the left-hand corner. I just think it's a really lovely piece, and I love the kind of the different colours of the different banknotes. Either side, I've hung these banana leaf sconces, which I just think are really fun and are so nice when they're lit in the evening. Either side, again, I've hung yellow plates that I found in a flea market in France, and then a blue bowl in the centre, which I bought in Tokyo in Japan. It's always really fun to hang plates. I think it's such a nice way of adding texture to a room. Again, the blue and yellow combination is a favourite, and I just think it's such a sort of harmonious, happy composition, the kind of plates surrounding the bowl. Here is a mid-century chair which I sourced from Vinteria in a blue velvet, and this is just a great little corner for sitting and chatting to whoever's cooking. A little bobbin stool, which I think originally these stools were for using in farms, like when you were milking cows, and they were that's what these originally were for, but I just think there's something so charming about them, and I love the bobbin that then ties in with the Alfred Newall console. This trio of works that are framed in perspex are woven African textiles. I don't know the exact origin of them, but I just love the colours and the different shapes and the circles that sort of make up each one in a slightly different way, and they work so nicely behind this chair. So when I did the renovation of the house, the main bit of work was to reconfigure the stairs. And the way the stairs were before really impacted the ceiling height in this area. So by reconfiguring, I was able to gain this ceiling height that then is the right way through the kitchen from this area. It just creates such a lovely sense of space. Before, because it was so much lower, it felt like almost a tunnel going through into the kitchen dining area. So I really feel like by achieving what we achieved, it's really made a great deal of difference to this area. This is a bar that is under the stairs. As you can see, the shape of the stairs here. And originally I had designed this to be full height storage. So it was going to be far more kind of practical in terms of, housing vacuum cleaner and things like that. But when I realised that I had somewhere else to put that, I thought that this was such a fun opportunity to create something a bit more unexpected and a bit more fun, which is a home bar. Again, Alfred Newall made this for me, bespoke, and I made the worktop the same oak as the console that he made, and then the cupboards below are painted in Farrow and Bull Radicchio in a full gloss with these lovely cane panels in the doors. I think it makes for such a lovely entrance to the kitchen. If you're coming down the stairs and friends are coming for dinner, you can offer a drink, and it's just a lovely way to kind of display drinks and kind of give that sense of fun and that really welcoming feeling when people come over. This is a beautiful plate made by an artist called Florence St. George, and I just absolutely love the kind of uneven edge and the jetem. I just think it's such a lovely, charming piece. In the bar, I also have a lovely wavy tray and an ice bucket by the lacquer company, the same as the coffee table upstairs. They make the most beautiful pieces, and they really lend themselves so well to these kinds of spaces with the colours that they make in the lovely deep reds and fun kind of brighter colours. I fitted a mirror to the back and to the side of this space, again, which really helps to add a sense of space. Especially with walking through a narrow passage like this. you know, your eye is drawn to the back of the bar and it immediately explodes the room, which I always just think is such a nice trick for these houses which are quite narrow. So in here is the laundry room, which is directly off the kitchen. And I always wanted to incorporate a laundry room just because where I lived before, the washer and dryer was in the kitchen, and I always found like I had laundry that was drying when people would come over, or it was always seemed to be in the way. So this was a really important room for me to create, and it's small, but it really works, and I can sort of close the door on it when people come over, which is so nice. But equally, because it is directly in my line of sight when I walk through to the kitchen, I thought it was a really nice opportunity to wallpaper in something that was eye-catching and that was slightly more unexpected for this kind of space. So I chose this really fun Pierre Frey wallpaper, which I absolutely love. It's got floral design, but with the zigzag in blue, which I think just makes it a little bit more contemporary. And I just think it's such a lovely, I think it's just such a lovely wallpaper. And I painted the cabinets in a blue that matched with that blue zigzag. And I also fitted, as the splashback, sort of cream Zelige tiles, which are Moroccan, which works really well. The cabinetry, I bought the carcasses from Howdens and then had a joiner make the doors in this tongue and groove panelling, which is just quite simple, but I think works really well. I always hang my laundry on these wooden articulated laundry hangers, which I got from Zara Home. And these I've hung behind, which are lovely old photographs of Hong Kong, which I think are really nice to look through when passing. On this wall, I bought some vintage works which show fashion design from the 1950s and framed them in a blue frame, just to, again, kind of tie in with the wallpaper. This is the primary bedroom and is on the top floor of the house, and it spreads across the whole of the top floor, so there's a dressing area and a small bathroom. In this room, the walls are painted again in my favourite Farrow & Ball setting plaster, which I just think is such a lovely, calm colour for a bedroom. And I also love how it can work in a nursery setting, but also because it isn't too pink, it can feel quite grown up and sophisticated as well. On the headboard, I've used a silk fabric from Robert Keim, which I absolutely love, and is based on a Suzani. I really love the colours, I love the pink. The bedspread is embroidered and I bought from Birdie Fortescue a few years ago. The cushions are quite unexpected and sort of quite bold in colour, but I really like how they kind of throw off the scheme and make it not too kind of coordinated and pretty. And I also just love the texture of velvet, and then this block kind of raspberry coloured velvet in the middle, which works quite nicely with the headboard and the raspberry pink bed valance as well. The bedside lamps are from Sewn, which I got in a sale a few years ago, and the lampshades are made by Nushka with this lovely trim top and bottom. They give such a lovely glow at night and are just a really lovely soft texture in a bedroom. Again, on both bedside tables, I have these little trays from the Lacquer Company, which I just absolutely love, and it's so nice to put your bits before going to bed. And the bedside tables are antique. I got from Lawford's. I really love the shape of them, and they have a drawer at the bottom, which is really handy, but I do also love how they're open, and I kind of stack magazines and books and things that I just want to hand when going to bed. This originally was the doorway into the bedroom from the staircase, but I reconfigured so that you walk through the dressing area and then into the bedroom, which I think is a really nice flow and also creates a little bit more privacy coming from the staircase. So instead, I kept the opening and created extra storage in this area. So I always really like having a shallow bookcase in a bedroom. Again, just really nice to have books and photographs and little bowls where I keep jewellery and things like that. And photographs of my parents, my grandparents, and just all the things that I really love. This is an artwork which is a map of where Sohn make all of their incredible lighting and furniture. I bought it many years ago and just really love the kind of different furniture designs that are sketched. Above it is a Japanese work that I bought from the decorative fair and framed in oak, which I just think has a really nice soft pink background and works really nicely with the wall colour. This artwork is by an artist called Rose Harris, who I absolutely love the work of. This work is by an artist called Katie Stubbs. My husband loves chicken, and we kind of have a joke about that. So I saw this and just thought it was such a brilliant, fun work, which is a sort of chicken shop, and it's got sort of God on the phone asking not to forget the coleslaw, and sort of rats on the floor. It's by a wonderful artist called Katie Stubbs, and she always has really fantastic stories and kind of tongue-in-cheek, fun subjects to all of her artwork. On the left-hand side are some plates by an artist called Makoto Kagoshima, a Japanese artist. They were a wedding present from my husband's aunt and uncle, and we just absolutely love them. We love the sort of folk element, and the colours are just so lovely. Below it is an artwork that my aunt gave us of us on our wedding day, with all of the kind of bridesmaids and page boys who, it was a Christmas wedding, and I just think this really kind of captures the day, which is so nice. So the artworks above the bed, the ones far left and far right, are a pair of lovely drawings in watercolour by Oliver Messel, and they were for costume design. And I just think they're so delicate and lovely, and I saw them at a art fair and just fell in love with them. The artwork in the middle, I have other pieces by this artist, Hugh Griffiths. He works with collage and mixed media, and I just really love the composition with, you know, the number 3 in the corner and the sort of shooting star and the lovely gilt frame. And then in between are some pressed botanicals, which I've had for a long time, and I really love how they are framed in perspex, which kind of gives a slightly more contemporary edge to them. So in this corner, I have a lovely, again, a collage work by a Japanese artist called Fumi Imamura, which I got through the Lindsay Ingram Gallery, and I just absolutely love her work. It's so beautiful and intricate, and I love the kind of little butterflies that she's sort of dotted around the flowers. So the curtains in this room are made from a fabric that I bought from the cloth shop in Portobello Road, and it's a very sort of humble fabric, but I just really love the horizontal texture and the green and cream kind of combination. I love how it's not sort of completely uniform, and I love the way it drapes, and just how the green, soft green, works so nicely with the setting plaster colour on the walls. Also, what I've used are these lovely bamboo roller blinds, which I use often in projects. I just think they add another layer to a window dressing, and I love how the light comes through during the day, and they look much more solid when it's dark outside, and I just absolutely love how they work alongside curtains and bring in that kind of texture and dappled light. In between the two windows, I have another botanical framed, like the ones above the bed, a wicker basket from a company called Kalinko, again made in Asia, which I absolutely love, a mirror that I sourced from an antique shop in Notting Hill, and then a photograph of my aunts at my parents' wedding. Here is an armchair that I picked up in a flea market. As you can see, it hasn't been upholstered. I had planned to upholster it, but 7 years later, I still have left it as is. And I actually really like the raw kind of Hessian and being able to see the studs and the stitches. And I think eventually I will cover it, but it's worked really nicely in this space as is for now. And, you know, I've got a few cushions here, lovely key limb, small cushion, and then a cushion with S on it, which I picked up in Lily Road in Fulham, which is made from an antique French textile. Again, love having a standing lamp next to a chair right at the height at which, you know, if you're reading something, you have a really nice ambient light. Opposite the bed, I have a quite rickety but lovely bamboo chest of drawers. This part of the wall is above the chimney downstairs, so I couldn't get full depth cupboards all the way along the back wall because I didn't have the depth, but I actually really like having the break. But you know, sometimes a whole wall of built-ins can be a bit oppressive and can look a little bit boring. So I've got the built-ins in the recesses left and right, and then the chest of drawers in the middle, which gives an opportunity to put things on top and have a nice lamp. This is a sort of Kashmiri Indian lamp and a lampshade made with this lovely sewn fabric, which I love. The artwork behind is again by the artist Hugh Griffiths, who does these lovely collage with fabric, and I love the white frame. And then above it is a scene from the Tuileries Gardens in Paris, and I just love the bicycle and the sort of school children walking through the park with the trees. I just think it's such a lovely scene and a lovely thing to look at when in bed. The rug is a vintage Moroccan Berber rug. I absolutely love the pattern of this one. I think quite often also Berber rugs can have quite a harsh black contrast with the cream, but the reason I love this one so much is because it has this lovely kind of light brown, which is much softer in a bedroom and is just lovely and soft underfoot. Below the rug for the fitted carpet, I've done a sort of boucle sisal, which I think works really nicely with the overall scheme. So the house originally had a larger bathroom off of the primary, but there was limited storage for clothes, and it also wasn't an ensuite. So I decided to reduce the size of the bathroom and to create this area in between the bedroom and bathroom, which has some built-in closets. Where I didn't have a huge amount of depth, I created a built-in shelving, which I then made around wicker baskets, which I keep all of my different kind of items of clothing in, and it's just a really great way to organise and a great use of space because I've got somewhere to put everything. Okay, so this is the primary bathroom, and whilst it is really very small, there's a place for everything and it actually works really well. So I'm very happy with having reduced the size of it. There's this lovely big window which looks out to the back of the house, and that gives an amazing amount of light and a lovely view. So I decided to split the room with this panelling, so a sort of tongue and groove panelling with the bead on top. I kept the colour below nice and neutral, but painted the top with this quite dark blue, which when I did it, I think the builders and anyone else that came to see what I was doing was a bit confused by, because it seemed like quite a strong contrast, but I felt like once everything was hung, the artworks and kind of all of the other elements came together, I think it's actually a really fun contrast and works quite nicely. It's really cozy at night and a lovely place to kind of have a bath. Although not groundbreaking, a sort of blue and white and sort of almost nautical theme is going on here. I found this piece of The Growth of a Shell in an antique fair, and although I didn't have measurements, I really hoped that it would fit, and when I got home and it fit perfectly, I was so thrilled because I just think it's such a lovely piece against the blue. These are some starfish which are in box frames, which I just think it's so nice having that 3D element. And I really like this plate with Venus down here with the shells around it. I think it's just such a fun work, and although quite unusual to hang so low, I just really like how the different heights work all together. This is a blue and white shell, which is in quite a traditional sort of floral design. I think I hadn't really seen anything like it, and I just thought it was such a fun addition with the sort of blue and white colour, and it works really well sort of with the smiley face and the flower either side. The mirror is a Swedish kind of trellis mirror, and I'd seen these kind of used above fireplaces often and always really liked them, but I'd never really seen one used in a bathroom. And when I was looking, I knew that because of the bathroom being so small, I really wanted it to be as big as possible to maximise reflection and bouncing of light from the window. And I was so happy when it went up because I think it works really nicely in this room. I also really like how it sits with the panelling going, the panelling cuts across it in the middle. So I like how not everything's matched up. I think it creates a little bit more interest, a slightly more unexpected combination of things. The lighting in here, both the wall light above the mirror and also the pendant are from Pookie, which I think they just make really fun and lovely light fittings. The blind in here is sheer. This is a really lovely fabric by Catherine Ireland, which I bought through Tissu de Laine, and is just a very simple Roman blind, unlined. I think my husband gets quite cross that it doesn't block out more at night, but I think the trade-off with it being so nice and light and being able to have it closed but with all the light coming through during the day is great. And here I've got one of these lovely bamboo wicker side tables, which is I put bath salts and things that I need from the bath. Again, making it less utilitarian and a little bit more like a living room, so that not everything in a bathroom has to be super kind of practical. It does get a bit wet and it probably won't last forever as a result, but for now I absolutely love it. I just think it's so nice having an antique piece in a bathroom. This is another stool that I bought more recently, which is really useful because I can pull it up to sit when I'm bathing my son. On the other side of the room there is the bath, and it's a freestanding bath, which is quite traditional, but I've painted it in the same blue as the walls above as quite a nice way to sort of tie the two together. On the floor, I've used cement tiles from Popham, which are all made in Morocco, and I selected the sort of green and yellow combination, which I think is quite a fun addition to the space. To the right of the window, there's a large towel rail with a round mirror sitting kind of within it, and there's also a shower that is above the bath, so when I'm standing in the bath there is the mirror there, which is quite fun. The artwork above the bath is by a photographer called Slim Aarons, and it is of a scene by a pool looking out over the ocean, and it's just such a lovely piece to have when sitting in the bath, and on a rainy day in London, nice to be able to dream of being somewhere a bit hotter. For me, really what makes a house a home are all the individual elements that tell the story of the person who lives there. And that's something that I always really emphasize with clients, that is really such an important part of any home that I work on, is really kind of making sure that their story is told and that the things that they love are celebrated. I think it's so often with artwork, with objects, with things collected on like when you're traveling. So those are the things I really feel like make a house a home.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.